Well, shock horror, Harmy. India have won the Champions Trophy to add to their T20 World Cup title. Four-wicket win over New Zealand in Dubai. I don't know whether you got to see very much of it. New Zealand did well, actually, to give themselves a chance with 251 for seven after batting at a snail's pace through the middle part of the innings against India's spinners. But then India chased it down with an over to spare despite a little wobble, a little scare in the middle. Um, did you get to see it much? I wanted to save this till the end, but I can't. I have to let our listeners and viewers know that you are in New York City.
I am in New York City, a city that never sleeps. And I tell you what, you'll hear in the background that even in the morning that the sirens that are going. It's a wonderful place, an unbelievable place. I'm leaving this afternoon, so I play golf a lot, and I know there's a topic of conversation going to come up during this show about England playing golf. But I tell you what, I have never walked as much as I have over the course of this last 5 days. It's been brilliant. What a city! You here for the World Cup? Less security, I think, while I'm here than there is when you were here. But I didn't get to see much. I only seen the highlights, i.e. the wickets, the good shots. I've seen enough of it to probably form an opinion that we knew India were going to win. Unfortunately for New Zealand, I mean, they're the best two teams in the tournament. And you're right, I think the snail's pace. And it's not a knock against New Zealand. I just think India bowled really well. Yeah, in the passages that I've seen. I mean, when you look at the bowling figures, I mean, was that 38 overs between the spinners? They got a hold of the game and they really sort of driven home the advantage in that middle period. And then, do you know what? When Rohit Sharma got out, I thought, "Ooh, this could be a game. This could be a game." Virat Kohli's already gone. I think they got off to a great start again. Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma. And we'll and obviously we're going to talk about England, and we can talk. But you look at the likes of Shubman Gill, averaging nearly 60 and 50 over cricket. Virat Kohli averaging nearly 100 when it comes to chasing. Rohit Sharma, I mean, enough said, he's a fantastic player in the white ball format. But when Rohit got out, 122 for three, you just still thought there might be a little bit of a chance here. And I'm not going to say that there were probably a spin bowler short, but that Matt Henry injury, I think the way he bowled in the tournament, I think that period of play, if he was to come on then, might have made a difference. But look, they were just too good. And I think we all knew, even when we were in India, Manners, when they played against England, that there was only going to be one winner of this tournament. And the only team that was going to beat India was if India made a mistake themselves by selection or changing a batting order or game plan issues. They've got everything covered. They've got the best spinners. They've got the best seamers. They can bat between 1 to 9, 1 to 8, 1 to 9 in any given order. They're a proper side, and there will be a proper side for years to come now.
Okay, let's hear from the great man himself. Here's Rohit Sharma after the final.
India is a bloody good team, without a doubt. In the last 3 or 4 years, we've managed to play finals of all ICC tournaments. So I'm really, really proud being a captain of this team because, and even though we didn't win the World Cup in 23, but to play the finals of all 4 trophies was really, really good and shows how consistent we are as a team as well. You lose one series here and there, it doesn't mean that the team is bad or things are not happening in the right, things are not going in the right direction. It happens. Everybody is allowed to lose, and we lost a series in India against New Zealand, the Test series. But that happens. It's like every time we take the field, we are meant to win everything. But that is not going to happen. This is a sport that we play. There are opposition who are also trying their best to beat us, and you got to give credit to sometimes the opposition as well when they play good cricket, not just look at the faults that we have. Sometimes you get beaten, sometimes you get outclassed by the opposition. And we got outclassed by the opposition in Australia and New Zealand. But that doesn't mean this team is bad. The last 3-4 years will show the kind of consistency this team has had.
Rohit Sharma, he does speak well, doesn't he? He never doesn't get too high or too low. Before I get your thoughts on that, let's actually hear from Mitchell Santner now, because New Zealand have now contested 5 ICC tournament finals. and lost them all. It's a problem that South Africa would love to have. But here's, well, I mean, they'd like to reach a final or two. But this was Mitchell Santner after the game.
Yeah, I guess they're starting to add up a bit now. But yeah, if you make finals, you're coming up against another pretty good team who's also playing some good cricket. So I think, I was proud with the way we fought tonight. I think we pride ourselves on, especially in the field, is not giving up. And I don't think we did throughout that innings. I guess it's bittersweet. You always want to win one of these, and I don't know how many more chances we'll get. But I think this is up there for us. I think we were playing some good cricket leading into this, and we thought we were a real sniff today. But I guess we just got beaten by a good team.
He also speaks well. I have to say that very few captains, I think, have slipped into the job more seamlessly than Mitchell Santner has. He's he's just tactical now. So I mean, he seems to have raised his game. He's bowling better than ever in the white ball format. Did you? The first day I was in New York, I thought I'd just have a quick look downtown, and I ended up doing 36,000 steps, according to my phone, 22 kilometers. I walked and walked and walked. So hopefully you haven't had too much time to look at social media. But if you have, you may have seen that graphic about the kilometers traveled by each team during the Champions Trophy. There was New Zealand with 7,300 kilometers between games, and obviously India with none. And it was, well, literally graphic evidence of the advantage that India had.
Yeah, it is, and it as much as I'm with you. How the first day we were here, we walked all the way from sort of Central Park to downtown, and I tell you what, that's not a short walk. I mean, the subway home was very, very much needed. But when you look at this competition, and it don't matter what Sunil Gavaskar says, or I think Anil Kumble had a go, and one or two others, India's trying to defend it. I mean, it's not the players' fault that they're playing in Dubai. I mean, that's the point we made a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? It's not the players' fault. I'd rather, if you go back to what we said a couple of weeks ago, Manners, we talked about it, and we said it's not the players' fault. I'm pleased that the Indian government have just gone, right, categorically, you're not going to Pakistan. That's it. End of. Rather than 200 MPs in England sitting on the high horse giving it. We signed a petition that you shouldn't play against Afghanistan, but we're not going to pull you out. You're going to have to go over and face the music. Now that where I'm going with that one. And when it comes to the people saying it should be an asterisk next to the winner of the tournament, I think that's nonsense. You could have played this competition in England. You could have played it in Australia. You could have played it in the Caribbean. You could have played it on the moon for all I care. India would have won this competition. They were the best team by far. They were the best team by miles. They had the best attack. They had the best bowling unit, the best batting unit, the best captain. And fair play to New Zealand because they were second best. But I actually think they were a long way from second best. And that's not being disrespectful to Mitch Santner and his team, because I think his team were fantastic. I mean, the two spin options were very, very good. Matt Henry, unfortunate with the injury. They're a good seam option. And you're right. I mean, 5 tournaments now that they've been in the final. They need to win one soon, because if they don't, they're going to run out of time with Kane Williamson, because he's the one that keeps them all together in the middle, who keeps the juggernaut of getting to major competition, knockout stages, and then producing in the semi-final. Yes, he didn't produce in the final, but while you've got Kane, you need to win, because they're not like South Africa. They're not chokers. Unfortunately for New Zealand, every time they've come up in the final, they've come up against a decent player, a decent team, or a decent player. That's just been better than them on the day. So, I mean, we were in the country a few months ago, a country that size, the population of New Zealand, the way they look at sport and everything that goes. It's remarkable that they keep getting to finals every single time. So fair play to them. And the India one, well, like my rant last week about the 100, we've seen time after time after time in the last 3 or 4 competitions where Rohit Sharma has been standing on the stage, the byproduct of an unbelievable domestic competition which produces players. How many players have we produced in the 100? None. That's why India, off the back since 2008, have got better and better at white ball cricket, with the way that they keep producing a first team and a second team that can play this great game of cricket, especially in the white ball format. And that's something that we need to address if we want to get better at winning white ball competitions. Because let's be fair, Manners, and I know Rob Key's coming up. We're going to hear from Rob Key, but we've had a 4-year period from 2015. We were rock bottom. We got to 2019, and a little bit beyond 2019. But apart from that, in the last 25, 30 years, we have been average at white ball cricket.
Very quickly, this is an amazing stat. That was Rohit Sharma's 17th ICC event. Michael Atherton, including 2 World Test Championship finals. But Michael Atherton wrote a brilliant piece in the Times about the law of diminishing returns, in which he talks about ICC events, World Cups, Champions Trophies, losing their luster, losing their appeal, because there are so many of them. That was the 3rd one in 18 months. And then I don't know whether it's just me or whether it was you as well, or whether, you know, I don't know whether it's fair, because we work in cricket, to say there was an element of ho-hum about this.
There is, but while India win it, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And that's it, top and bottom. I mean, the ICC events aren't going anywhere anytime soon. There's one every year till 2030. And they ain't going anywhere anytime soon while India keep winning. Because while India win, ICC hit it in their pocket. It's cha-ching. I mean, they put their money in, they pull a slot, and the jackpot comes every single time when India wins. So we ain't changing this. We can kick and scream and say, you know, they're losing their value. They're not. The 50-over competition, like Mo and Ali said last week, it needs addressing in some areas. But while India keep winning, we're going to consistently have ICC. I actually like this competition. I like the ICC Champions Trophy. I actually quite like it better than the World Cup, because it's the best teams playing. I'd argue go one further and add 2 teams to it and say, right, there's five teams in each group and play 4 games, then a knockout. The 2 teams that finish bottom of each group, they're out next year. And the 2 teams that play the emerging nations come in. And I tell you what, that will make you play properly. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself in Zimbabwe in July playing against Kenya and Nepal and all these teams. In England, if it was this time, England would be playing in that competition. And you were there for the last one. And I'm not sure it was that much fun. So that's the way I would just remodel the ICC Champions Trophy a little bit to make it more inclusive for everybody.
Okay, on to your old mate Rob Key, and I must say you've been very good at wearing 2 hats, friend and objective analyst about Rob and the job that he's doing and has done and has got to do. He was talking to the media at Lord's last week. Well, let's actually get straight into it. Let's hear him talking about the options that he has and his team have for picking England's next white ball captain or captains.
You're just looking for the best person, really, someone who you think can take this forward. We're not going to rush this decision as well. We'll take a bit of time. We've had a plan in place where we've looked at lots of different people. So we've seen Phil Salt, Liam Livingstone, Harry Brook. There's plenty of people. We've got plenty of options to do that. We're now going to spend the time trying to work out exactly who that person is. It might be the case that you have one for 50-over cricket, one for T20 cricket, because when you start looking at it, I believe that Test cricket and 50-over cricket are probably closer than T20's the outlier now. So then that takes different things. You know, we look at India and the way they play T20 cricket, and they've got all these young players coming through, but it's their Test players that are making the difference in 50-over cricket. Same with us. Our best 2 batters in that were Joe Root and Ben Duckett. Nothing's off the table, really. You look at every single option and you think, right, what is the best thing to do? How is that going to impact on other things? So very much, Ben Stokes is one of the best captains I've ever seen. So we'd be stupid not to look at him. It's just the knock-on effect of what that means. Yeah, as I say, nothing's, I mean, without being ridiculous, you know, like we're not going to pick someone who's never played cricket before, but, you know, you're just going to try and find who is the best leader to take this team forward. You know, who can manage that?
Interesting thoughts. He mentioned Liam Livingstone and Phil Salt. He didn't mention anybody else, so presumably that means that they are in the running or were in the running. But I suspect, we'll talk about this later, that the news that Harry Brook has pulled out of the IPL has something to do with the next appointment, I would think, Harmy.
Yeah, interesting thoughts. You know, I've got my thoughts on the Harry Brook one and a couple of left field things, and I'm not in the knowledge, so I've been away, so I don't know, but I've just seen it like everybody else. The news that Harry Brook has dropped and he's not going to go in the IPL. But when Keezy talks there about nothing's off the table. I don't think anything can be off the table because I don't think we've played white ball cricket great in the recent past. Since Owen Morgan left, the team, I think age-wise, has been going a little bit downhill. I think leadership-wise, possibly the same. And that's not knocking at Jos. I just think he wasn't a natural leader like Owen Morgan is, and Ben Stokes is, or Sir Andrew Strauss was, and Michael Vaughan was. Talking about Ben Stokes, whether he goes with Ben Stokes. And part of me thinks that this is a good idea because everybody else has got, I mean, you look at Australia, we all talk about the big three, don't we, Manners? So the big three. Pat Cummins captains all formats. Rohit Sharma's captained all formats. I know he's given the T20 up now, but he's 3 or 4 years older than Virat Kohli did all formats before that. So why shouldn't England? And I know England do play a lot of cricket, but then two other countries play a lot of cricket as well. So why can't Ben Stokes? The only thing is his body that will possibly let him down. He don't have to play the 50-over format as an all-rounder. I still think he's good enough to play as a batter and batter alone. That might disrupt the balance of the side. Who knows? But I think the leadership qualities by the end of Owen Morgan's tenureship as captain, and he might not thank me for saying this, but he was playing as a captain. Owen was playing as a captain. I don't think he was as the destructive white ball batter that he was in previous years. He was playing as a leader, and I think I would have carried him as a leader. I'd still carry him now as a leader because I still think he's that good. So I don't have a problem with, and I don't see why there should be an issue. I think there's a lot is made in this country about protecting players, about protecting bowlers, about looking after the mental well-being and the physical well-being of players. And when a lot of us get on our soapbox and go, just play cricket. I mean, that's your job. Just play cricket. Why are you not playing? I mean, I look at, and I'm going off on a tangent like I normally do, but you look at the balance of the team and the bowlers, you try and build a unit around your bowlers. England have come with this mentality of we're going to pick 5, 6, 7, 8 fast bowlers to go to Australia. We're going to build all our cricket around the fast bowlers. I mean, that's fine if you want to copy Australia, but Hazelwood, Stark, Cummins, they don't miss games. They very rarely miss games, and they're only missed this Champions Trophy to preserve themselves for what's coming ahead, which is the Ashes. Before that, you look at the numbers that the amount of one-day games, the T20 games, and the Test match games that them 3 fast bowlers have played. I mean, it's a hell of a lot higher than any one of ours have played. We've got Jofra Archer, Mark Wood, who are questionable on fitness, and we've got a list of about 7 or 8 who, I mean, they've played 1 test and got 5 for, and never seen again because they're never fit, and that's a lot down to the way I think in this country we try and protect players too much by not playing them and making sure they're ready for the big series. And when they get the big series, they get injured in the first match. You never see them again. And that's just because they don't play. And I think what England need to do now is to make sure that, right, this is my leader, this is my group, and we're going to play, and if it does cross over Test matches and one days like it did in the past, then why not? Why don't the 4 best fast bowlers in Test cricket play 50-over cricket? You might want to change it up when it comes to T20 stuff, but even that, your best team should be your best team, and don't protect them for further down the line, because further down the line, they could, after 6 weeks off, they come back and that they might get injured after a week. So hopefully, the one thing that Ben Stokes has always said, he'll always look at the next game and play the best team in the next game. If Ben Stokes becomes England's white ball captain, I would like to think England's best cricketers will play in every single format, because Ben Stokes will look at what's the next game coming up. This is what we want to play. This is how we're going to win. And we're going to build a formula by winning games with our best team. We'll worry about what happens tomorrow. And I think that, for me, is what England need to do now.
Okay, change of subject. Here's Rob Key on his confidence that Brendan McCullum and whoever they appoint as captain can turn England's fortunes in white ball cricket around.
When you've got a problem like this, Brendan McCullum's one of the best coaches in the world, if not the best coach in the world, and he's only just started as well. And it's not true that the only thing he says is go harder, go harder, go harder. He speaks all the time about soaking up pressure as well. And you've got to trust that players can make those decisions at the right time. There's not a world in where we think that people think that players, they don't care, they don't want to go and get big scores. That's absolutely not true, that they don't care about winning, that they're arrogant. None of these things are true about those players. Half the time when they're in there and they're getting themselves in trouble is because they're actually trying to concentrate so hard that they end up making mistakes. Sometimes they're reckless. Sometimes they make the wrong decision at the wrong time. But that's the game, right? But it's not a case that all we think is you go out there and play one way. As I've said from the start in Test cricket, when the whole Bazball thing came about, it is about two things. It's very, very simple, and it's the same in white ball cricket. You've got to be able to put bowlers under pressure, and good bowlers under pressure, and you've got to be able to soak it up, and you've got to be able to make that decision at the right time. And we don't do that well enough, and that's what we've got to get better at.
Not mincing his words there.
No, he's 100% right. He's 100% right, Rob, but your team not listening to you. It's as simple as that. It is. I mean, everything that Keezy said there, I've heard that from Keezy since he was 19, 21, 25, lying in the same bed watching the telly. I mean, he speaks great sense, and he's talking great. And he talks about McCullum in such a way which you put him on a massive pedestal, which he is. I don't see Brendan McCullum as a great coach. I see him as a great leader, and these are the two different things here. I think as a leader in a certain environment and everything that goes, there's nobody I'd rather play for. I mean, nobody I'd want to play for any more than Brendan McCullum. But I don't think I don't think Brendan McCullum's a coach as in what you would see as a coach. We've got Mickey Arthur coming up. Mickey's a coach. Duncan Fletcher is a coach. They're coaches. I don't see Brendan as that, but I see him as this, is this authoritative figure and as this leader inside the dressing room, which makes the place. And I think the days have gone of the likes of Mickey Arthur and in that environment. I think you've got to make sure that there's less time because of the crossovers of formats and the amount of cricket that's played. If you need coaching in international cricket, you shouldn't be there. They're picking the wrong side. And there's an argument. Over the course of the last few months, England have been picking the wrong side because of the way they've been playing. And it's all great what Rob Key's saying, and he is 100% right. But his players aren't playing like that. His players are finding it hard under pressure. His players are playing reckless when pressure situations come. His players are, I would say, possibly taking the easy way out and leaving somebody else on the other side who's to come in under even more pressure by giving their wicket away as opposed to soaking up the pressure. So I think everything he's saying, fine, but your team isn't doing it.
Okay, very quickly, because we're running out of time, but I want you to listen and comment on Rob Key asked about the perception that England don't train hard enough.
I was out there in Pakistan, and a lot gets made, and we don't help ourselves a lot of the time. But a lot gets made of the way they go about things and the way they spend their time when they're not playing, which I have no issue with, really. And there's no doubt that we've got to get better when we're doing interviews, when players are doing their post-match press conferences, whatever it is. We speak a lot of rubbish a lot of the time because they're trying so hard to not sort of upset players in the dressing room, not try and give away something that they don't think they should. And then they end up creating headlines through that. But I don't kill people for really the things they say.
I'm just thinking of all those ducketisms that he's obviously referring to.
You must. I mean, there's obviously his name's in the hat to be white ball captain. I mean, he must have a hotline to Ben Duckett, and I say that in jest because I think Ben Duckett's brilliant. He's a breath of fresh air. He's a bit like Keezy, to be honest. Having known Rob since I was sort of 17 years old, there is a lot of Ben Duckett in Rob Key and Ben Duckett and vice versa. They have a way of speaking the truth, but then sometimes that truth not being what is really need to be said at the same time. He's right. They do, but you've also got to remember, and I think this is what the wider world have got to remember, when they go into a press conference, the first 3 questions are probably the questions that need to be answered. And then the next 6 or 7 questions, you don't want to you don't want to sort of sit him as though you're answering the same way. So you do try and find, and I think that sometimes comes, and they've got a great media manager, and Danny Rubin. He's one of the very best. He's the best I've ever seen. But sometimes Danny might have to cut in and say, right, he's answered. We've answered. Just move that on, because England players do get themselves into trouble, possibly because they're too nice. The one thing I'll say about this lot, they do train hard. I know what Kev was saying. It was what they were training. I think the reason what Kevin was trying to say, KP was trying to say, it was what they were training. They're making the same mistakes and getting caught out and getting put under pressure the same way. But what are they working on? So are they working hard enough on that, or are they just going in, running their laps, catching their catches, hitting their balls? And that, for me, is there's a difference between training with purpose and also, just training for the sake of training. These boys do train hard, they do work hard, and the other stuff, the golf and that, is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. They're young men who should be allowed to spend their quality downtime in any which way they see fit. And a lot of the times, I mean, it's very difficult, man. As you've toured for a million years, you know what it's like when you're away from home. I mean, the last thing you want to be doing is concentrating on cricket 24/7 all the time. So, do you get the argument? Do you know when people have a go at them for playing golf? Do you get that argument, or do you also go? I mean, like you said, you were in New York for the World Cup. You wherever you go in the world, there's things to be done and to be seen, and you're not always at cricket. So, can you see that argument?
What, that they shouldn't play golf? No.
No, that they're getting stick for playing golf.
I think it's a difficult one. It's all about the look, isn't it, Harmy? That, like, you don't want them to be secretive, and there is quite a lot of that. There's sometimes the great Danny Rubin, as you mentioned, will say there's no media opportunities today, and it's later you'll find out that's because they're all on the golf course. And sometimes you think, well, we've got a job to do. We could you not have made an arrangement? But normally he does. And absolutely, I completely agree that a lot of the criticism is based on the fact that they're playing golf while they're losing. So what do you want them to do? Stay in their room and play PlayStation because they're losing? It's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. I completely agree.
And that would make it worse. It would make it worse. By staying in the room makes it a whole lot worse, because I mean, there's no worse place to be in. It's a hotel when you're losing, because
especially
you just feel as though the walls are caving in.
Right, let's talk about Harry Brook. I think that we're sort of making the assumption that he is going to be appointed either 50 over and 20 over captain, or at least in one of the formats. I'm assuming that would be 50 over. I don't know. So he announced on social media on Sunday that he was pulling out of the IPL. He was due to play for the Delhi Capitals, or I should say he was due to be in the Delhi Capitals squad. I'm not exactly sure how much game time he would have got. It does mean that he misses out on 600k, £600,000 he was bought for. It's a lot of cash, that. And also it means that unless there's a change of rules and regs from the IPL, he won't be able to enter it for the next 2 years. So he'll effectively be banned from the IPL. And if Rob Key has promised to compensate him for that, then he'll have to be captain, I assume. Harmy, what do you make of it all?
It's sad, because more for Harry. I really I don't care about the IPL for him. I really don't. I just wonder if there's an underlying thing here. I'll tell you about sort of my experiences, Manners. If I've been away on a long tour, like what Harry Brook's been away, and I think Harry Brook is very much a homeboy, like I was. I don't think he's had the sort of the struggles I went through from a mental point of view, but we don't know, because I hope he hasn't. But if I'd gone on a long tour, I've been on the amount of tours that Harry's been on, and where Harry's been for the last 12 to 18 months, you could have paid me £10 million to go to the IPL, and I still wouldn't have gone. I wouldn't have gone. I mean, it wouldn't. I couldn't think of anything else off the back of the amount of trips that he's been on. The money factor is just a number in his eye. In that point, this is another 7-8 weeks away from home, potentially carrying drinks in a intense, hostile, hotel-bound environment. because we know what the IPL is. And you spoke to Dale Steyn about it, why Dale didn't go. And I just wonder if this is what it is. Not that Harry's been offered the white ball job or anything like that. So I get why he's done it. I understand it, and I'll fully back the kid. And if it is a thing that he turns around and says, Harmy, do you know what? Off the back of all what I've been through in the last 18 months, 2 years, from the start, from when his grandma died, to coming back into cricket, to touring, the World Cups, everything that's come, he sees a little bit of a break rather than IPL. I promise you, if it was me and I was in that situation, you could have offered me 10 million quid. And I tell you what, we've just had Rob Key on. Rob Key knows exactly what I've been through because he went through half of it with me. And he will know when I say it. You could offer me 10 million quid and I still wouldn't have gone to the IPL. I really wouldn't. And I just wonder if it's that. I wonder if it's, I've just had enough. I've had enough of touring life. I've had enough of cricket for this short period of time. I need to charge my batteries. Not bothered about the England stuff. He might think, honestly, he might, and I always had it this way. Being the homesickness stuff that I went through, if England was taken away from me tomorrow, I still would have had a good life playing cricket for Durham, earning enough money to provide for my kids. And I just wonder if Harry's gone, you know what, 4 games for Yorkshire will make me feel a whole lot better than going to the IPL for 6 or 7 weeks. So I hope this is Harry putting himself first, giving himself a good work-life balance and going, do you know what, the last thing I need at this minute in time is the IPL. I fully understand the circumstances where the consequences that I miss it for 2 years, and that's an awful lot of money. But I'll always back myself to be the best cricketer I possibly can, and that's Harry Brook. I will be the best player for England if I have this break. And in 2 years' time, I'll go back in the IPL if they want me. If they don't, well, then so be it. But I'll still be earning an awful lot of money providing for my family. So hats off to I really, really back him on this. And I hope this is just Harry looking after himself. Not that because he's going to be white ball captain. If it is, great. If it's not, if it's just him looking after himself, I mean, he needs a huge pat on the back for putting the human element first rather than flogging himself across to India, sitting in a hotel room for the next 7.5 weeks, taking his 600k, mixing a few drinks every now and again, and getting more and more mentally fatigued and depressed. Good for you, Harry. I'm really pleased for you that you're going to feel better about yourself for 6 or 7 weeks rather than going to the IPL.
That was one of the most passionate and eloquent soliloquies you've ever delivered. I just need to pick up one thing there, and it's just to add fuel to the fire that suddenly raged within you. 3 times during that, you said 7 to 8 weeks. Where have you been, Harmy? The IPL's 12 weeks now. I mean, it's 3 months. By the time you get there for the pre-tournament camp, it's 3 months. That is a lot of time. And as you said, if he's a guy that, you know, enjoys walking his collies on the moors, I mean, that's a long, long time to be away. I'm just adding more fuel, not that you need it.
If not enough money could pay me to go there. Off the back of that, I mean, that's a tour in itself. That's it. I mean, that's
longer than an Ashes campaign.
Well, it is longer than the Ashes campaign. So, you know, if he has put himself first, good for him. Really, really pleased for him because, you know, there's more to life. And there's some people look out there. We've spoke about Kevin Peterson. There's some people that look out there, and there's more. When I say there's more to life than money, there is a huge element of happiness. And unfortunately, when you go to that IPL and you're not playing, I mean, it could have. I'm just speculating here, but it could have had, you know, huge ramifications on his mental well-being if he did go, and then we might not get Harry back. You might get to a point where you go. He has a struggling summer. He goes to the IPL, don't play it. You know, the weight of the world's on his shoulders. The walls are caving in, and he has a shocker against India. Everybody's on his back because he's the great Harry Brook. He is the heir apparent to the next Joe Root. He has this time off, and he goes and takes India ready, and then gives it, you know, averages 60 in the series. Where mentally is he going to be when it comes to Australia? that's why no amount of money will ever come into the equation if I felt as though, I mean, where my head was going to be if I didn't give myself a break.
And finally, in this section, a word on Bryden Carse. He's also pulled out of the IPL, but because of injury. I'd rather hoping you don't describe the nature of the toe injury after your eyewitness account. But you know, he had stitches in the well, basically the knuckle of his toe, or if you call it the knuckle of the toe. But I mean, that just sounds like a real mess, and there is nothing you can do as a fast bowler, I assume, when you've got a toe that's in that much of a mess. I mean, he tried to play through it. They tried to pad it up, but it's probably good news for England, isn't it? That he is now going to have 3 months off.
Yeah, it is good news for England, and I think it's another one, a good thing for Bryden as well, to get away from the limelight, go and learn how to take bags of wickets, because I think he did in New Zealand. He did really well in New Zealand, and I just think a little bit of time to heal them wounds of his toes, because it'd be like a wicketkeeper splitting the webbing of his finger. I mean, there's no way you have to stop playing to make sure it heals, same as the batting point of view if a hand injury. So I think from Bryden's point of view, he can reevaluate where he's been in the last 12 months and then look to kick on. That's it. He's got time now, look to kick on. So where he goes now, he goes back to Durham, get himself in a position to start playing again. And then the biggest thing I'd be saying if I was Rob Key, is get your footwork sorted out. I mean, get your boots sorted out. Go and troll whoever makes cricket boots in the world. Go to their factories and find out which is the best ones for you. Forget the financial rewards for wearing such and such boots. Just make sure that you go to each and every single manufacturer and get the best ones for you. And whichever ones they are, make sure you stick with them, because at the minute, the ones that you're wearing, they're not working for you, because a boot shouldn't do that much damage. If it is, then they need modifying, and I think that's something that Bryden probably needs to do right now in the time that he's got in between. So good, but it's another boost for England that Carse is not going to go through that 12-week razzmatazz of the IPL.
Okay, on to the final word. I'm going to give you 3 hors d'oeuvres, but none of them are the main course. So the three starters. Tom Bruce, New Zealand batter, made the 3rd highest score in New Zealand first-class cricket history, 345, behind only Bert Sutcliffe, who scored more than that twice, 385 and 355. So congratulations to Tom Bruce in the Plunket Shield. A.B. de Villiers made a comeback of sorts at the age of 41, playing for the Titans and Masters. He scored 100 off 28 balls. It was dog and duck bowling, as you would say, but he still hit 15 sixes. And sometimes when you've got modest medium pace bowling, it's quite difficult to hit that stuff. So 100 off 28 balls. Austin Waugh, Steve Waugh's son, played for Australia under 19 some 5-6 years ago, maybe even 7 years ago. Fell out of love with the game, didn't play it for 5 or 6 years, but has come back, has rekindled his passion for the game, and was recently presented with his first New South Wales cap at the age of 25. So those are your starters, a little starter platter. But the final word this week goes to Will Smeed. I've gone from devastation to elation, inexplicably, in the 2 years that it took him to say that he was not going to play red ball cricket before he'd actually played a first-class game. He was going to become a white ball specialist. I just found it perversely depressing. Can't really put a finger on it. But news that he has signed a multi-format deal with Somerset now at the ripe old age of 23. So he's going to give red ball cricket another crack.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him. There'll be people out there who will mock and jest and say, "Oh, we told you so. This is what it was." But no, good for him. Sometimes you have to find your own path. and experiences in life do sometimes, you know, are negative ones, and especially the ones where you possibly don't want to take people's advice. And Will Smead, I spent 2 years a little bit in wilderness, because when he came, he was going to be the great hope of white ball cricket. He's going to be opening the batting for England, and in 2020s he was going to take the IPL by storm. And we all said, you know, red ball cricket is an education, and hopefully he's going to get his education starting at 23, and he'll be better for it. He will be better for it, because when he comes out the other end of this, it's not a case of what he's missed, because he hasn't missed that much. He's missed 2 summers of playing red ball cricket, and he'll be better for that. He will be better for it, because hopefully he'll realise that by playing red ball cricket, it will make him a better white ball player. And the boy is a good white ball player. I just think, you know, possibly attention went to his head a little bit when he got that 100 in the 100 format. Now he's going to concentrate on playing, you know, the proper way, the educational way, and that will no doubt make him a better white ball player. So good for him, good luck to him, and Somerset will benefit off it, because if he hits the ground run at the start of the summer, and all of a sudden Somerset have got to play in red ball cricket, which they're teaching on the Somerset. They're close to a bit like Essex, of the have-nots. They are close to breaking the shackles of the top 3 or 4 and potentially winning the championship. This might be just the edge they need to get them over the line, if they've got a destructive batter in red ball cricket at the top of the order, if he gets into the team, that is.
Any thoughts on the starters? Yeah,
the starters, well, Bruce, I mean, he's had a little bit of experience in first-class cricket in England, so you know, he's a good player. It's always a good thing when you see somebody come back to the game. I know he was always going to get lured back to the game, was Austin, off the back of his dad's unbelievable career. And what a play his dad was, by the way. He always nice to see somebody come back into the game after a while. We talked about Jaiswal's brother, didn't he? When that great story of going and coming back. There were different types of stories, but still the same. The love for the game come back, and obviously come back into the game. And AB de Villiers, I mean, I didn't fancy bowling at AB de Villiers when he was 20, when he was 21. Never mind. I'd rather bowl at him when he's 41, never mind 21. But boy, if he decides to come back and play, which I'm not sure where's his end goal, man. As you know more than me than this one, so you can finish on that final word. Where's his end goal? Is it just a bit of a hit and giggle, and he's going to go and play with a few old timers like Ian Bell and Monty Panesar and Chris Tremlett are doing in India? Darren Goff's commentating on it, or is there something that maybe he's down the line? He's looking to get back into cricket, because no matter who he's hitting dog and duck bowlers, 100 off 25 balls shows you that his eyes are still there, his hands will always be there, and the boy knows how to hit sixes.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that one up in the air. Part of me honestly thinks that he let go in a fashion. He gave the game away in a way that didn't please him, and I don't know whether the flame is how seriously it's flickering, but yeah, well, I'll keep an eye on it. I'll keep you posted.
I bet it's flickering even more now after he's just did that. I bet if he hit the first one straight along on, he'll have gone, yeah, I made the right decision.